I'm Aaron Kohler, and I'm going to do my presentation over pancreatic cancer. I first want to start by talking about the location and the function of the pancreas because it comes into play significantly. The location of the pancreas, its upper abdomen, but the most important aspect is that it is posterior to the stomach, to the small intestine, biliary duct, liver, and it becomes very important in detecting. Also the function, there's exocrine and endocrine. Exocrine, obviously, it secretes enzymes that exit the body. Endocrine secretes into the circulatory system, so it stays in the body, hence endo and then exo. Some of the exocrine enzymes, bicarbonate, amylase, things like that that are part of the digestive system. Exocrine makes up 95% of the function of the pancreas, which comes into play later, or it's kind of a symbolism. Here, I don't know if you can see it, but it's the pancreas here, and this is the small intestine, and you can see that the stomach, it's not there, but it would go right on top of the pancreas, kind of giving you the feel for the posterior aspect of it. We continue on to the endocrine portion, which makes up 5% of the pancreatic function. It includes the islets of Langerhans, which is made up of insulin or beta cells and glucagon or alpha cells. We notice here that insulin is included, and when you think insulin, you think diabetes. I think this is important to point out because later on we'll question why can't we do this for the diabetes aspect, but we can do it for the pancreatic cancer, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Here's some images of the islets of Langerhans. I know you can't see that, but it gives you an idea. Two types of cancer, not necessarily two types, but two divisions. You have the exocrine and the endocrine, just like the function exocrine and endocrine. And remember, 95% of the function of the pancreas is exocrine, and the most common type of cancer is the exocrine form. And in one of the journal articles I was reading, it said that if somebody comes up to you and says, I have pancreatic cancer, odds are more than likely it is the exocrine variety. Exocrine tumors, 95% is adenocarcinoma. Malignant version, not many pancreatic cancers are not malignant, and I think that has a lot to do with the detection process, which we'll talk about. The exocrine tumors typically happen on the forms on the duct. If you think about the pancreas, the whole thing's a duct. Like, it is a duct. That's what a pancreas is. The heart has chambers, but the pancreas is a duct. It can form in the enzymes. When we talked about the enzymes earlier, the bicarb, the lipase, the pancreatic, the different digestive breakdown enzymes. It can form in that, but it's not very likely. Pancreatic cancer, I don't know if you can see this, but it just shows the tumor on the pancreas. It's an image from the Mayo website, and kind of gives you an idea. Endocrine tumors, like we said, very uncommon. They're referred to as the NETs, pancreatic neuroendocrine tumors. It affects the islets of Langerhans, and as we talked about earlier, that's your alpha beta cells. An example of this is the insulinoma, and I think that's self-explanatory. Insulin and the beta cell, part of the islet of Langerhans, part of the endocrine portion of the pancreas, obviously insulinoma, self-explanatory. Detection. Detection is the key to pancreatic cancer right now. No signs or symptoms in the early stages. I mean, that was the consensus. It was just like there's nothing early on. As it progresses and you begin to have signs and symptoms, the signs and symptoms are so related to other diseases that it's hard to pinpoint that it's pancreatic cancer. There's no real discrepancies. It's not like nausea and vomiting occurs along with this that points to pancreatic cancer. There's nothing like that. They're very, very common, very general for a lot of diseases. And lastly is location, location, location. All 8-10 articles I read, I don't know, all said this organ is posterior to the stomach. It's behind the small intestine. All of this, and that's why it makes it so hard to detect. One journal said that it hides. Therefore, the radiological techniques such as ultrasounds or CAT scans, even with contrast, it makes it so hard to find the pancreas. Pancreatic treatment, very vague. With cancerous tumors, you want to remove them, but as we've been talking about this whole time, the detection process is the key, and right now we're not detecting it very well, and it's, you know, I don't know if they'll ever be able to detect it better unless you're just running people through, you know, scans and tests and just constantly, but so really there's no real treatment other than removing the tumor, but a lot of times it's already spread, that you have to use the palliative treatment, which is just code word scientific phrasing for you treat the symptoms. As we move on, I was very interested in transplants of the pancreas after I had my first anatomy class a couple years ago. I wanted to know why we couldn't do that, and they're very uncommon, and typically they only work for people that have type 1 diabetes, severe type 1 diabetes, like pretty close to death. But the reason we can't do it for pancreatic cancer patients is twofold. It's the detection. It's already too late. It's already spread, and it's just pointless, and they don't qualify. Another is you have to take anti-rejection meds. Anti-rejection meds produce an autoimmune deficiency that will allow the cancer to come back. And whenever you're not doing very many pancreatic transplants, you want to save them for, you know, people that it will actually work on and, you know, could help. I want to finish up with some stats, because I think stats, it's huge, it's striking, the damage that pancreatic cancer does. 43 to 44,000 people get diagnosed, which in the scheme of cancer isn't very much, granted. But of those 43, 44,000, 37, 38,000 die, so you're talking about 86% die in the first year. This is just in 2012 alone. Another statistic said 24% survival rate. This shows a 14% survival rate, so about 14, 24, somewhere in there. And it only makes up 2% of cancer diagnosis. That's why I pointed out that 43 to 44. It's not that much. It's only 2%. However, it is the fourth leading cause of deaths in the realm of cancer. To put that in perspective, breast cancer and pancreatic cancer essentially kill the same amount of people a year. The only difference is breast cancer diagnosis is above 230,000. So you're talking about 5 to 6 times more people get diagnosed with breast cancer, but the same amount die per year. So you have about a survival rate of 83%, 17% die, 83% over the first year. So that gives you kind of some perspective on it. Big red, bold, this is the stat you'll see everywhere. It's in all your basic anatomy classes. If you get pancreatic cancer, you will, 5% survive past 5 years. And even with the pancreatic commercials on television, I think it's a 6% past 5 years, and I read in a journal article 4.6% post 5 years. So it's right around 5%, which is that's significant considering the breast cancer statistics I just mentioned. Incidence of the cancer is steadily going up. From what I heard over the last 30 years, it's not significant, so we're not going from 20,000 to 80,000 in a 10-year span or anything like that. Obviously, since it's only 2% of the cancers and it's only at 44% a year, or 44,000 a year, it's not, just outrageously growing. A good stat is average age is 72 years old. If there is a good stat with cancer, I guess it's better that it happens older. It can happen younger, but the average age is 72, and we like to see people live as long as they can, and so